Good morning YouTube, welcome back to another video. So a slightly different day today. It's match day -1. As I mentioned in a previous video, the games are coming thick and fast at the moment. So today I'm going to take you through match day -1, show you exactly what that looks like, and I've also got a Q&A where I'll be dropping a few answers to your questions yesterday from my Instagram. Before we get into it, we are already nearly at 500 subscribers, so thank you very much for all the support on the channel. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next, and let's get straight into today's video. Saturday's game, where do we start with that one? Football, when it's good, is the best thing in the world, but when it's bad, it's absolutely horrendous. So we're on a bit of a bad run of form at the minute, and Saturday, unfortunately, was no better. But we had so many chances. Goals do definitely change games, but as mentioned in the last video, obviously with me being a defender, clean sheets are more important as well at the minute, and we can't sort of come by enough. So we ended up getting beat 4-1. But I think we had 2, maybe even 3 chances cleared off the line at 1-1, or even maybe at 2-1. It was just a frustrating game again. I'm 100% confident that when it clicks, we'll be absolutely flying, because there's been so many games this year where we've absolutely sort of played teams off the park. We've been playing some unbelievable football and we were struggling to score. Now it's sort of the other way around. We're still playing some really nice football. We're scoring tons of goals, but we just can't keep any clean sheets. But people always ask me sort of what's the bad thing or a negative thing with football, and when it's not going great, it is literally one of the worst feelings in the world. It takes over your whole weekend. So for example, for me, Saturday night was ruined. Sunday yesterday was just terrible. You're just thinking about your job, sort of football, what you could have done better, what you wanted to change. It takes over your whole life. It's all that you think about. So it is quite hard to switch off. But like I said, another game coming tomorrow. So the good thing is that games do come quick and fast. So we've got an opportunity to put things right. I'll actually clip some of the highlights from the game in this video so you can have a little look yourselves. But huge stadium, huge team. It just shows the standard that we're playing at in League One, the step up. But again, the big thing at the minute is results, which we've not got. But like I said, when it clicks, I know that we're going to be fine, because we've been playing some unbelievable football this year. Right, let's get this fully down me, and then we'll crack on with some questions. So, as mentioned at the start of the video, thank you to everyone that responded to my poll yesterday. I do remember when I first started up my social media channels, I had to get my friends and family to ask me questions whenever I was doing a Ask Me a Question poll. Whereas now that we're closing in on 100,000 followers, so if you've not seen that on Instagram, I'm guessing those that are here are from my Instagram, but if not, I'll plug that below so you can go and follow. So let's get stuck into it. First question. Did you believe that you will always go pro? Now, this is a bit of a weird one. So when I was young, I had that mindset. It might come across as arrogant, but if anything, it was more confidence. I had to sort of believe that I would definitely go pro, and I did. I backed myself the whole way through sort of the academy system. I remember telling myself that I would be ended up as a professional football player. I did, however, probably have a switch in mindset when I was about 22 or 21, maybe a little bit earlier. So for those that know a little bit about my background, I was released after my first year's professional contract with Crewe, and then I fell into the non-league circuit. This camera is shaking. Let's see if that works. There we go, much better. So as I was saying, I was a professional football player from the age of 18 to 19, and then after my first year's professional contract, I was released by Crewe, and then I fell into non-league. I really struggled at first when I fell into non-league, and that is probably when I had my first blip of not thinking that I was going to be a professional footballer. So I was playing for Leek Town, which I think is step 7. And in all honesty, this is where I completely fell out of love with football. I was still desperate to make it to the level that I'm playing at now, but it felt less and less achievable at the time. I had a couple of years where I was actually debating giving up on football, and it wasn't until I signed for Altrincham in the Conference North where that sort of fire and hunger started to creep back in, and then it got to a point where I sort of told myself that I will eventually get to where I want to be. I've just got to work hard, make sure that I sort of stick to the process, put in the extra work outside of training, and get to where I want to be. And thankfully, that hard work paid off, and I'm now playing in League One. And you've still got to keep that exact same mindset, working hard, keeping that goal in mind. And I'm a big believer that if you do work hard and you've got a plan in place, then you will 100% achieve your goals, or you give yourself the best possible chance of achieving your goals. So, thought I lost my keys then. First question down. We'll be working through the questions as the day goes on. The time is now 20 to 11, so I'm going to head off into the training ground and I'll catch you there. All right, we have just pulled up to the training ground and today's weather is not lovely like last week's. So it's definitely going to be a rain jacket today. Okay, next question before we head into training. So what does a recovery day look like for me? So this is something that I have been putting way more emphasis on recently. Now, mainly because of the step up in sort of physicality and standard in League One. I've really got to sort of step up my recovery because I have noticed after games, I don't know whether it's maybe that I'm getting old or what it is, but I am feeling the effects after a game. So on a Sunday, for example, if you play on a Saturday, I will always do sort of 10 to 15 minutes steady state cardio on the bike or just a little jog just to get some blood. I can't get my words out this morning. Just to get some blood back flowing into the muscles. Then I am trying to smash out 1 hour's minimum mobility work. So flexibility and mobility work. And then I am also a big sauna basher at the minute. So I'll try and do sort of 20 minutes in the sauna, followed by some cold water therapy, followed by another stretch in the sauna. And then the big thing for me as well is just making sure that I nail my nutrition. So I'm putting a lot of emphasis on my nutrition at the minute. If you've been following on Instagram, you will know that when I post my full days of eating. So I'm tracking my calories fully and I try to ensure that what I'm getting into my diet is good, solid, whole meals and wholesome food. So essentially I'm giving myself the best chance to recover properly ahead of the game. And then the big one is sleep. The biggest thing for recovery is sleep. Now for me, after a game, I cannot sleep, so it is a bit of a nightmare. I think it's probably because, again, I don't have caffeine throughout the week, but then on a Saturday, I'll abuse the stuff. So that's obviously going to affect my sleep, which I do potentially need to have a look at and adjust. But for me, if I can get sort of 8 to 9 hours minimum after a game, that always stands me in good stead for the Sunday or the Monday when we're back in training. Oh, this weather. It's terrible. Anyway, we've just arrived at training ground. So, we'll get cracking with the day. Well, that's training done. Surprisingly long one today. Wet and cold as well. But time to get a little bit of lunch. Another meeting ahead of tomorrow's game, and then we'll get cracking with the rest of the day. And the lovely curry again, Chaz. What a shock. What a shock. Okay, that is training done for the day. It is actually 4 o'clock, so slightly later than normal, but again, that was down to the later start today. So match day -1, we have got another game tomorrow, Lincoln at home, so another big game and another new team for me to be playing against. So again, today's training was a little bit lighter in terms of the load, but just tons of detail and loads of match prep going into tomorrow's game. With it being match day -1, that is also coffee club, so I'm currently just sat outside Starbucks. So I thought I'd get cracking with a couple more questions before we go in, stock up on a coffee and a cake, and get ourselves home and start recovering for tomorrow's game. So next question, what would I be if I wasn't a footballer? Now, again, I've worked tons of different jobs before I got back into full-time football. So I literally have tried my hand at barbering. I worked on a building site as a labourer. I worked behind a bar. I tried my hand at sort of football coaching. My most favourite job role of all time was that I worked at Papa John's as a delivery driver. So I've tried my hand at so many different things. I had a couple of sales roles as well, where I was working for Duracell. So a load of different things I've tried my hand at. And in all honesty, none of those jobs gave me the same satisfaction that football did, which does worry me slightly for when I do sort of retire or finish playing football. Like I said, I've tried my hand at a few different things and never got the same enjoyment from it. And I know, realistically, I'm not sort of playing in the Premier League, so I'm going to have to work once my football is done, which again is why I've gone down the content route, the sort of online coaching route. So for me, myself, I'd love to take my online coaching full time. So at the minute, I operate that on a part-time basis. If you've seen from my Instagram, I'm always full and I can never take any more people on board just because I've not got the time available to do it. But I'm pretty confident that once my football is finished, I can then transition my coaching from part-time to full-time. That on top of potentially going into the YouTube scene, creating content, doing all things like that really. That's a little hobby of mine. I do like making videos, I like making content, I like interacting with people online. So the two essentially go hand in hand. I can do my online coaching, which I'll transition into full time, essentially just getting people in the best shape possible, whether that's sort of muscle building or fat loss. And then again with the YouTube, I've now got a couple of years to sort of try and progress that, see what happens with this. But again, basically, if I can't grow a YouTube channel in the next 6 years, after posting a number of different videos each week, that is probably my sign not to go with YouTube full time, because it's basically indicating that my videos are crap in the politest way possible. I'll be pretty consistent with my posting, like I have done on Instagram and TikTok, so I've built up a decent following on those platforms now, and hopefully do the same via YouTube. So yeah, in summary, take my online coaching full time, and then potentially go into sort of the content creating route as well. That would definitely be something that I'd be looking at doing, and something that I'm interested in doing after full-time football. Now, let's go and take you for a coffee before this place shuts. Like I said, coffee club today, so flat white and a cake before it all runs out. See what they got in store for us today. Okay, mate, can I get a blueberry muffin, please?
Blueberry muffin?
And a decaf flat white as well, please.
Decaf flat white. Is that to sit in or take away?
Take away, please, mate.
I've got a £6.
Cheers. For today's coffee club, we have opted for a blueberry muffin and a flat white. Okay, next question. Do I still get nervous before games? Now, short answer to this is no. Long answer is occasionally, which is still short, but let me give you a little bit of context. So, I think when you play in full time, you essentially just get used to it. And it's a bit of a strange feeling. Sometimes when you're playing in front of sort of 15, 16,000 people, the noise in the background is just like white noise. So you can't really, is that right, white noise? You don't really take it in, and you don't necessarily hear it whilst you're playing. That's probably because of just the adrenaline, how much you're concentrating on the game. So essentially you're distracted from the noise itself. Now, there was a game last year where I got a little bit nervous. It was my first time playing in front of like a big crowd. It was Bradford away. I think there was 19,000 there. And that was the first time since stepping up from the National League that I was playing in front of such a big crowd. And it was also on Sky Sports as well. So a telly game to add to the pressure. So I think walking out for that game, I was a little bit nervous. That's the first time I've noticed it. But again, as soon as the game sort of gets underway, you just forget about it. You're so focused on the game that you don't essentially have time to worry about being nervous, really, or you don't necessarily think about it. Again, this season, I was a little bit more apprehensive because it was a step up in standard. Bigger stadiums, bigger crowds again, so I was thinking, oh, am I going to be nervous? So for the first game of the season, we were playing Blackpool at home. And again, walking out for that game, I felt okay. And then the first sort of 2 minutes of the game, I was a little bit nervous because I was thinking, how am I going to sort of cope? Do I feel like I'll be okay? Do I feel like I'll be essentially comfortable at the level? But again, after 2 minutes, I'd settled into the game and I was absolutely fine. And since then, I've never really had any nerves since playing, which is good. But again, I think a little bit of nerves is actually a good thing. Gets you up for the game. It gets that adrenaline going. So if you are someone, excuse me, if you are someone that does get a little bit nervous before games, don't worry about that. Everyone's different. Some people like to be really upbeat. Some people prefer to be really chilled. But I think a little bit of nerves is completely normal and completely understandable if you're playing. And we also have any advice on making it as a professional footballer. So my number one point for this would be not to be disheartened playing non-league football. So although non-league football is not professional, well, technically the National League is these days, but although it's not, the lower leagues aren't classed as professional, don't underestimate how much you can learn and improve from playing at that level. If you are, say, 19 or 20 years old, you're going to gain so much more experience playing in the men's game in front of fans, where points on the board matter. It's a results business. You're going to learn and benefit so much more than if you were playing, say, under 21s football, in my personal opinion. So although I was working my way through the academy, got a 1-year professional contract, did a year under 21s football, I don't really think that I benefited as a person and as a player until I dropped down into non-league. So it taught me so much about life on the pitch, how you need to mature as a player, being strong, using my size, maturing as a player, but not just on the pitch, off it as well. Like I said, I had to go into work, I had bills to pay, I needed to afford things like petrol for my car. I learned so much about myself and grew so much as a person and as a player playing in non-league. Although I wasn't happy doing it, it really sort of grew me and moulded me into the person and the player that I am today. So my number one tip, like I said, don't sort of feel frustrated if you are playing in the lower leagues. See it as a way to improve and work on yourself, and in the long run it's definitely going to help you. But I think, as the saying always goes, the big thing with anything in life is hard work. If you are willing to put in the work each day, I don't just mean for a month or 2 months, I had to graft for 3 or 4 years. before I eventually got into the EFL, which was my main goal. And then from there, I carried on working and got up to League One. And it doesn't change, nothing changes. I'll still just work as hard, if not harder, each day to try and become better, both on and off the pitch. So we have our own training sessions, but then I'll always do my own extras as well. The big thing that is always going to get people the results, whether it's in football, in life, in work, it's always going to be about how much work and effort you're willing to put in, how much you're willing to sacrifice, how much you're willing to give in order to get the results that you want. A little bit of a motivational speech there. Never normally like that. I did get a bit passionate. Have this coffee, calm myself down. Whew. Get cracking with the rest of the day. It is 4:15. Coffee club is complete. Tonight I'm going to go home, cook up some food ahead of tomorrow's game, and then get myself off to the gym. Do a little bit of recovery, get in the sauna, get in the pool, chill, and get cracking with a few more of your questions. Forgot that I've got no dinner at my house. So I've just had to stop off at Aldi and get a few little bits ahead of tomorrow's game, which leads me on to the next question, which is what I always have for my pre-match food whenever I've got a game. Now, in all honesty, this is always pretty much the same every day or every time I do have a game. So things that are high in carbs, either my pastas, my rice, and I'll always have some form of protein with it. So there's no specific set meal other than my breakfast, which if you've seen on my Instagram is Nutella porridge. But in terms of the evening meals, that always swaps and alternates depending on what I've got in. So at the minute, the fact that I've got no food in is why I'm here in Aldi, stocking up on some goods, cooking a pre-match meal for tomorrow, which will probably this evening be chicken, rice, and a sweet and sour stir pack. So that's evening meal secured. So chicken, sweet and sour stir fry pack, nice and simple. Someone has also asked what's the best stadium that I've played at. Now 100% hands down, this was Brighton's when we played them in the, I can't remember whether it was the EFL Trophy or what the other one's called, but that was hands down the best stadium I've ever played at. In terms of just how many people were there, the ground itself, facilities, just everything in general. It was unbelievable. So a very sort of good feeling and surreal feeling that day. Although it wasn't the result that we wanted, like I said, for me personally, to have come from non-league, where you're sort of playing in front of like 200 people sometimes, to go into a Premier League stadium in front of, I think it was 25,000, was unbelievable. Another one that I've been asked, so before I start making my way home, is when am I getting married? That is an interesting one. If my partner is watching, her ears are probably twigging at the minute, so I can't give away too many pointers, but we'll see. We will see. This always happens to me. Literally, whenever I come down this road, the bridge or the thingy, whatever you call them, the boards are always down. Always down. So whilst we're sat waiting for the bollards to come up and the train to pass, oh, there it is. I thought I'd answer another question. So someone's asked, what were the big changes that I made to go from non-league to the EFL? Now, two that definitely stick out for me were, moving. Number one was my sort of conditioning. So I put so much emphasis on my performance in the gym. So I was training sort of 3 or 4 times a week in the gym myself, following a specific plan. Those windscreen wipers make such an annoying noise. Following a specific plan, just trying to improve my speed, power, body composition, pretty much everything I was putting in a ridiculous amount of work, to be fair. It was actually when I first started up this page, or my Instagram page, and started doing my personal training qualification. So the two went hand in hand. I was obviously taking more of an interest in nutrition and training, and then at the same time, putting more work in off the pitch to try and get myself into the best possible shape. So that is definitely number one, the biggest indicator, working on my physical performance. Number two, again, was sort of relates to the physical performance, but my nutrition. I started to put tons of emphasis on the foods that I was eating, trying to ensure that I was building enough muscle, maintaining the muscle that I'd built, and overall just staying in better physical conditions so I could stay fit for games. I was at my fittest, I was at my strongest. So physically, getting into the gym and taking control of my nutrition were the two big things that definitely helped me try and sort of adapt, or not necessarily adapt, try and go from progressing from non-league to the Football League. And then finally, number three, it was more of sort of a self-belief thing that I tried to sort of switch. So when I was playing non-league, I think the fact that I knew that I could be playing higher and I wasn't, essentially gave me a belief that I'm not where I should be. And that gave me confidence in training, in games, that I sort of believed in myself that I was better than the standard that I was at, which again, it might come across as arrogant. It's not meant to be like that at all. It was just the self-confidence that I had to have in myself to know that if I put in the work, I'm going to get to where I want to be eventually. So although I wasn't where I wanted to be, I had to have that self-confidence and that sort of belief that if I keep doing the right things, eventually my chances will come, and thankfully they did. So I would say, in summary, 3 things were my physical attributes, working on those, my sort of overall health in terms of the food that I ate, and having that self-belief and confidence to ensure that I was trying to push on and kick on and get to where I wanted to be. So, I've just got home for the day. Number one, it is quite late. This is a very late finish for us today, but we did have a later start. So, however, number 2, it is delivery day. So let's have a look at what we've got. This isn't part of the delivery. New camera though, which my girlfriend's kindly lent me. So the increase in standard of vlogs is going to go through the roof. It's no boots, by the way, but we do have a selfie stick. That's it. And my balding tablets, the essentials. I will do a video on that, on what supplements I use. Unless you're going bald or have had a hair transplant, these 2 probably aren't going to be of much use to you. And unless you like doing content like me, this selfie stick might not be of much use to you. But just thought I'd show you what we've got. Right, now that we're home and settled, I'm going to cook up some food, answer a few more questions to finish off the day, and then I'm going to head to the gym, get in the pool, get in the sauna, a little bit of a stretch and recovery, and then get ready and rested for tomorrow's game. What are 3 things that I like about playing for Crawley? Now, number 1, definitely the style of football that we play. So, me personally, I've always liked to be involved in teams that sort of play possession-based football. I'm much more confident with the ball at my feet. I like to play football in the way that it technically should be played. So for me, playing in a team like that, how Crawley like to play, it suits me perfectly. Point number 2 is definitely the location. So I'm still new to the area. Obviously, I'm living down in Brighton, but as areas go, I absolutely love it. So you've got the sea, tons to do. People are all really friendly. And for me, it's about 20 minutes to get to football each day. So the commute into training is ideal. And number 3, finally, I would say, is the fans. So the support here is unbelievable. Again, I think we had 600 fans travel to Reading, up to Reading at the weekend. Again, I've met a few of them when I've been down at games and at stadiums, and the support that we get each week, even when things aren't going great, is unbelievable. And I mean it when I say it, that support from fans is massive. It doesn't go unnoticed, and genuinely, we and I really do appreciate it. Right, that is dinner down me, and that will soon be me signing off for another vlog. 3 questions to run through that I was also asked on my Instagram that I wanted to touch on before we sign off and say goodbye for another video. The first question was, what do I get up to in my spare time? So, in all honesty, not very much. I am a little bit of a hermit. I do want to take up golf. However, I tried that the other week with my friends back home, and it's fair to say I was absolutely shocking. So it's a lot harder than it looks. However, I do want to try and get into that for next summer. The majority of my spare time is either focusing on my own coaching business. So for example, on a Wednesday, that is when I do all of my online coaching work. So from 9 o'clock till say 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm pretty much at the laptop all day, at my phone, speaking with clients, getting plans altered, getting plans edited. So a lot of my time off on a Wednesday is spent doing my online coaching work. Question number 2 is, how much do I bench? The answer to that is not very much. I've actually never been the strongest in the gym. I don't know whether it's because I've got such long limbs, well, they don't even fit in the span of this camera. So obviously bench pressing, bars here, you've got a lot further to push than what some people would that have shorter limbs. So with me being 6'3", long arms, it can obviously increase the difficulty of bench press. So I've actually never been that strong. I would probably suggest or guess that as a 1 rep max, I get somewhere between sort of 90 to 95 kilograms for a bench press. This is something that I did try to work on a lot in the off season in terms of my strength, and I did see some good strength gains. But then obviously, as soon as the season starts, that does start to taper off a little bit in terms of the amount of volume and work that I am doing in the gym. Question number 3 to finish us off: how do you structure your day so that you have enough time for content, family, and training? So we'll split that into 3 parts. Part 1, content. That is really, really quick in all honesty for me. So in my day-to-day life, I just take my phone around with me and film as and when I go about my day. So that doesn't take up any time really, in all honesty. And then because I've been making content for so long, I find it really quick and easy now to edit a video. So it's not time consuming at all. It'll literally take me 5 minutes to edit a video and then post that onto Instagram or TikTok. The big thing that takes up the most chunk of my time is obviously my online coaching business and my online coaching work, replying to sort of clients throughout the day, getting any alterations into plan, check-ins, adjusting things on the app, for example. That is what takes up most of my time. So, like I said, throughout the day when I'm filming things, that doesn't take up any time. Say I start work at 9:30, I'll be home at 2 o'clock. I'll then designate a couple of hours where I get that work done. And then that's what sort of then makes time for family. Now, I do not have any family. Well, I do have family, that's wrong. I don't have any kids, not that I know of. But my partner has moved down here with me in Brighton. So we will both work, do our days, get what we need to sort of get what we need done and out of the way. And then we'll allocate sort of the majority of that evening or the rest of the evening to sort of us time, where we'll get things done together. It might be like a little date night, going for a Nando's, going to the gym together, or just going out for a walk. So that is where I make sort of time for my family. Again, my actual family, so mum, dad, brothers, they're all back home. However, they do sometimes occasionally come to games, so it's always nice to catch up with them when they come down and stay for a weekend. In terms of training, so extra training, for myself, again, once I've got home from football, sort of 2 till 4 o'clock, I'll just be on the couch, editing my videos, editing my content, doing my personal training work, and I also class that as sort of my recovery. So just a couple of hours to myself on the couch, chilling out whilst getting a few little bits done. And then I'll make my way to the gym in the evening. So from around about 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock is when the recovery work starts, or my upper body days in the gym, for example, the additional extras that I do outside of training. So it's all about building a routine that works for you and that you're sort of accustomed to. So for me, that routine works perfectly and it gives me enough time to get everything done that I need to each day. And on that, we'll be signing off for another vlog. So thank you very much to all those that have stayed tuned and watched the video. I really do appreciate it. We are nearly at 500 subscribers, which is absolutely mental. Say that this channel only started last week, so I appreciate all the support. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next, whether that's sort of football insights, training tips, recipe ideas, whatever it might be. Let me know what you want to see more of, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next one.